add two rational expressions together. These expressions are a little bit more complicated because we have quadratics in both the denominators. So remember, we need to have the same denominator in order to add our numerators together, which means we need to make sure we have the same exact factors in both denominators. So we're going to factor each denominator and then look for how we can make a common denominator with the same factors. So I'm just going to copy down the numerator of my first expression, and I'm going to factor my denominator. So when I factor my denominator, I get x plus 4 times x plus 1. I'm going to look at my second expression, leave my 2 alone at the top. I'm going to factor my denominator, which is x minus 2, x plus 1. Okay, so remember, I want this denominator and this denominator to look exactly the same. So I'm going to look at this denominator and I'm going to say which factor is missing that this denominator has. Well, this denominator has an x minus 1 term in it, which means I have to multiply this fraction by the number 1, so we have equivalent fractions, but my number 1 is going to look like x minus 2 divided by x minus 2. So now let's look. I have x minus 2, and then I have an x plus 1, but this fraction has an x plus 4. This one doesn't have it, which means I have to multiply this fraction by the number 1, and this is what my number 1 is going to look like. I have to have this in my denominator, so that also has to be in my numerator. So let's see if I have the same binomials. X minus 2, x plus 4, x plus 1. So now my denominators both have the same factors. So I simply can write my denominator like this. Now be careful here because I have a binomial times a binomial, so I have to multiply those out. Remember, that's x minus 2 times x minus 1. That's what's happening in my numerator right here. So I'm going to multiply those out, and I get x squared minus 3x plus 2. And then I have to multiply my 2 times x plus 4. This 2 gets distributed in, so that's going to be a plus 2x plus 8. Now I need to combine like terms. I don't need to worry about my denominator anymore. I'm going to leave my denominator just like that. So now I'm going to combine like terms in my numerator. So I have x squared minus x plus 10, and my denominator is just going to stay in factored form. I'm not going to multiply those together. So that's my final answer on that.